Welcome, Cancer, to your June Moon Magic Deep Dive forecast for the ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. June has four key lunations, but right at the end of May, we had the blue moon in Sagittarius, which provides a backdrop for the first half of the new month. I'm going to unpack these five events from a purely Cancer viewpoint. The Moon, of course, is your ruler and very much to do with our inner world, our emotions, nurture, protectiveness, security, our family interactions, but also where we live, who with, and how. By the end of the video, I'll give you a clear picture of what you can expect in terms of that lunar perspective as far as your energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. Through to the 21st of June, when the sun makes its way into your zodiac sign on the solstice, we are going to see a lot of activity in the 12th house of your chart, which can be very tender. It's very much to do with the psychological, emotional, and spiritual dimension, but can be brilliant for anything to do with healing. And as we came into the month, Cancer, the moon in the sign of Sagittarius, very free spirited, likes personal and emotional space, was in an opposition with the sun in Gemini in that 12th house. So something has been a little out of kilter in terms of the amount of obligations and responsibilities you've got, and you have felt a bit weary as you come into the new month. The moon in Sagittarius is asking you to create some freedom. And what can help is that Mars, the planet of action, was actually in a challenging angle to that moon, but in the part of your chart to do with your long-term future. So if at the moment you do have a lot of obligations, but also feel a little bit locked in by them, the moon, together with Mars, is asking you to really be strong about breaking free and putting your own needs a little bit more to the front of your thinking. But the moon here is also brilliant if your home has become perhaps a little untidy, great for decluttering, creating some more physical space. But that brings us through to the quarter moon of the 8th. The sun's still in that delicate 12th house, but the moon's in the very open and expansive 9th house, your sister water sign of Pisces. Here, the moon's very much a knowledge seeker. So although a quarter moon can create tension, there may be some information you gain by someone who gives perspectives that can help you to deal with that juggle between the physical and the more inner world that blue moon threw up at the start of the month. So that brings us to the very heart of the month. Now that energy in that 12th house is now including the moon. Now, the moon doesn't really know what to do with itself in Gemini. It's known as being in Peregrine, far happier in your zodiac sign or any water sign, but also in Taurus, where it's in its exaltation. In an air sign like Gemini, which is very much to do with mental capabilities, the moon can be a little lost. But this particular lunation is supported very well by Jupiter. Jupiter in your zodiac sign, very much about expansion and knowledge, but also about acting out your unique talents. And that link back to the combination of the moon and the sun suggests that although that 12th house energy may have been a little bit testing, you can start to emerge from this. And those connections to other people that came from Mars's link to the Sagittarius full moon at the very beginning of the month, that's also linking into the picture in a semi-sextile too. So your friendships, but also your leadership, but also embracing that more emotional dimension, which should come easier to you, is actually going to help you to work with this particular new moon that much better. So that brings us to the next quarter moon, which ironically is just as the sun moves into your zodiac sign. So we have the solstice In the north, it's the summer. In the south, it's the winter. In astrology, it is the summer solstice. So there's the sun on the 21st, just moved into your sign, but the moon just into the sign of Libra. So obviously, the sun moving into your sign is going to give you much more presence. You're going to move into the moment. Your physical vitality will be invigorated. Uranus, the planet of restlessness, does continue as it will for the next 7 years in that psychological area, and ironically forges a great link to the moon. So you could have some sudden insights on that solstice, which can help you to understand some of the challenges that may have played out earlier in the month. If you have felt a little weighed down, or perhaps rather more raw or vulnerable. So the sun moving into your sign can definitely help you. And also Mercury and Jupiter very close together. So your bubbliness comes to the fore. But the moon here for you personally is saying, do keep things in balance, but also be mindful of your inner world and not so focused only on coming into the moment and taking action to move something forwards that you may have felt has just really trodden water through the first 3 weeks of the month. So that brings us to the final lunation of the month. It's in your opposite sign of Capricorn. The significance here is the moon in Capricorn is in its most challenging location. Capricorn's very much to do with the physical world, and it's the sign of culmination in terms of practicalities. The moon's about nurture. So a Capricorn moon is much more attuned to those physical strands of security rather than the emotional ones. The sun in your sign asking you to be very mindful of what you need to achieve. Mercury's moved forwards into a splendid, almost exact combination with Jupiter. So you're going to get some reward after the struggles that Jupiter's been through since it entered your sign on the 9th of June last year and was challenged by Saturn. So you can get some good vibes, but there may be a relationship scenario you just need to be mindful of as the month comes to a close. And also, of course, Mercury now in retrograde, which begins on the same day, the 29th. So if we recount the month as a whole, a lot of energy through the first 2/3 in the back of your chart, asking you to be very mindful of the need for rest, spiritual recharging, healing, but also know that there may be times when you could feel more raw and that can feel more exposing. You are going to move into your energy from the 21st, not least because Mars, if we go back to that quarter moon in Libra, Mars you can see at 25 degrees in a stunning link with Jupiter and also Mercury. So that friend or that group of people that have come through for you this month. So I do feel that some fair weather friends can make way, but there are going to be some new alliances developing, which are going to be much more important for your future. So if something that you have been doing comes to a close, do know that something will be rebirthed by the end of the month, but also know there could be some relationship issues that need some care, and not all of your hopes may go quite at the speed of light because of that Mercury retrograde. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next, Cancer. But just to say, I've reduced the price of my personal horoscope reports. They used to be buy two, get 30% off. Now, because of the cost of living increases, it's 3 for the price of 1. The one you pay for, your life roadmap report, helps us to understand the patterns that are played out in our life, but get a much more intimate understanding of working with those energies better future forwards. 3, your 12 months transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis, a really fascinating way of looking at astrology, yourself, and life at large. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your June monthly forecast, please see that on the screen. If you've yet to watch your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast, that's on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. And If you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, fire to your device each morning to get your early day celestial pit stop. You can do that below too as well. So, as far as your energy is concerned, we go back right to the start of the month. I think we get a bit of a clue about how this may be, because this is a classic full moon in terms of trying to integrate our emotional and physical well-being. And it's something that many of us struggle with, mainly because we can be perhaps a little bit too proud to look at our inner world. But if you are interested in personal development, or you're using astrology to really understand more some of the delicacies within your nature and your chart, you can gain from this particular lunation, because basically full moons are all about just realigning to get things more integrated. But I think it does suggest that your energy from an emotional viewpoint can be a little low, at least through until the 21st, when the sun moves into your sign and the passionate energies of Mars starts to link awesomely to Jupiter for the following week. And then your vitality really can pick up. Now, professionally, the full moon at the start of the month also suggests if you work in an environment where there's politics, backbiting, people can be a bit disingenuous. There's a lot of talk that's not really upfront. You really do need to make sure that your performance is very precise, because it's possible that someone could be talking about you or criticizing small details. So make sure you're really on the ball. In a more positive way, Neptune right at the top of your chart suggests if you are showcasing your talents through healing, through nurture, through anything to do with the psychic realm, if you're someone who works with helping people in any way, using film, photography, music, poetry, you can be absolutely inspired, and that continues to be a real opportunity for growth. If, however, you're doing something you're not really enjoying, with Saturn right at the top of your chart, some big questions can be asked. One of the things that comes up for me for you is that as we get to the sun moving into your sign and that delicious link between Mars and Jupiter, if you do want to step out and do something more on your own terms, that last 10 days of the month certainly gives you some rich opportunities. As far as your financial situation is concerned, the fact that Venus and Jupiter are going to come together again, they did briefly last year. It is a very rare alliance, but they come together again exactly on the 9th of the month. And for sure, you could attract some fortune at that time. But equally, if you're using that 12th house energy to do a lot of deep research, really analyze opportunities. The links at the very beginning of this month between the Sun and Pluto suggest you can quarry out some new ways of using your resources more effectively. And as far as your romantic situation is concerned, I think if you live together, a fairer share of domestic chores will help harmony. If you are not involved in a relationship as you come into this month, it's going to be through your network, but your network could be changing. So if you're not quite sure of someone at the start of this month, someone new or a group of people can come through by the end of the month that can revive your social interaction and start to open the door to connecting with lots of new and exciting people. And that can only be good if you are wanting to meet someone special. If you are in a long-term relationship, I think with having Uranus in that 12th house, it may be there's parts of your nature or your partner's nature that do need to be just checked out a little bit. So do try to keep the dialogue as open as possible. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Cancer. All the best. Have a great June, and goodbye for now.